Hello.
Hi.
Okay, we have time for one question.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Listen, it's always a pleasure to get to talk to you because
You hear what she says?
yeah. Listen, you're someone that you can't say you're that guy, okay? Because you're not just the drama guy or bit of action guy or bit of romance
Not
guy.
much action anymore at my age.
Yeah, but you've been there, you've done it.
Oh yeah.
And it's the range, in terms of what you've been able to do on screen as well as behind camera. Has that been a conscious thing?
Yeah, mostly I've failed enough that I try to find another thing to do. I honestly there's some truth to that. There's a element of not having everything be massive hits. Not designed not to be. If you do Good Night and Good Luck for $6 million, you're not trying to make that a $400 million film. So some of it's by design. Some of it's about trying to get the things you want to get made. And then every once in a while, a film you think will be a hit bombs, and then you move on to something else. That happens, a lot too.
You can never tell.
Oh no, you never let them see you sweat. But when it bombs, you're like, isn't that great? It's an art film. It's a $200 million art film.
We got some clips we're going to show of a variety of films, including your new film, J. Kelly, with the wonderful Noah Baumbach as well.
Yeah.
And I wanted to kind of just start now before we go back in terms of what is informing your choices. You're kind of in a position where you can, I guess, do anything that you want to do really, or have something green lit, in terms of that you want to be part of. But what's informing the choices that you make of the projects you want to be in, the projects you want to direct, the projects you want to produce as well?
Well, funnily enough, the choices get smaller and smaller as you get older and older. You start getting just like, can you play like the guy who can walk? Because I'm not kidding. Like, literally, I did this thing the other day, and I literally walked up on stage, and people applauded, and I was like, they're applauding because I can walk at this age. It's really humiliating. The parts got less interesting when I turned about 50. And I wanted to do, that's why I focused more on directing at that for about a decade there, just because there was more interesting things. I like this industry. I like what we all do for a living, and I wanted to still be part of it, but I was finding that the parts weren't as challenging or as interesting. So I worked on other ways of being involved in the industry. And then every once in a while, someone or something would come around that would be of interest. I got a call from Noah Baumbach 2 years ago, and he said, I'm going to direct this film. Do you have any interest? And I said, yes. And he's like, do you want to read the script? And I go, okay, but yeah, I'll do the film. Because,
wow.
Well, there's directors, for me, I've had, 4 or 5, Soderbergh, the Coen brothers, Alexander Payne, Alfonso Cuarón, certain directors that you go, well, if they call and ask me to do it, I'll do it. I mean, honestly, I trust their taste. I want to work with them. And even if it doesn't work, it'll be a valiant effort. They're not sort of idiots about that. So those were the choices. So when I got a call from Noah, I just said, yeah, I'll do it. And then I read the script, and I was really happy that I got to play J. Kelly. It was a really fun part to play,
We'll get on to, we'll show a clip of that in a little bit, but I'm really intrigued by when you get to the point where you can direct, in terms of your act. And it sounds like you've been a really present person on set in terms of you're watching, you're not kind of skulking off to your trailer or whatever.
I'm from Kentucky, right? So staying in a trailer is not a sign of success. I'm in a double wide trailer. I made it. So I like being on set. If you work you know, in this industry, and you make it, and you get to go to a set, which is exciting to be on. And there's 300 people all doing different jobs, working towards one goal, and all of the things that took the auditions that you failed and all of those things. And you finally get to a set and you go to your trailer and eat fucking apples. It's like, you know, I like being on sets. I love watching what people do. I like the creative process. And I was lucky finally in my career, about 20 years in, that the first really special director I worked with in film, I'd done a few, you know, I did yes, I know, Batman and Robin, get it out. I did it, yes. And you know I was the best Batman. You know it.
I loved.
You know it.
I loved.
You love my Batman.
I love your Batman, and I love that we saw him back in the Flash.
Oh, I was back in the
See,
yeah, you know it.
I
You
was like,
fuck
yes!
Ben Affleck. Fuck him. He couldn't have done it with nipples on a batsuit like I did it with nipples on a batsuit. Neoprene nipples. Come on. Try that. I even forgot the question now. I don't even remember. Well,
That's all right.
But yes, it was, you know, I like being on sets and I like being around, and I got to work with, after all those, the first director of substance that I got to work with was Steven Soderbergh. And he and I were both coming off of things where we were on our back foot. He directed a film called The Underneath, which is not a very good film. Well, I don't know if it's not a good film, but it certainly wasn't well received. And I don't think he thought it was his best film. And I was coming off of Batman and Robin and, you know, films like that. And we both needed a good film, and then we did Out of Sight. And that was a career changer. It was a flop. The movie didn't make money, flopped, but it was a really good film. And so that's one of those where suddenly the narrative changed for both of us again. He'd had this sort of just skyrocketing career after Sex, Lies, and Videotape. And then things kind of, and you know, you can have that one big one and then disappear after a while. And so we both needed it. And sometimes when people are on their back foot, myself included, that's a good time to be together because you need it. And you're desperate to try to establish what it is you think you're capable of doing. And so my lessons in directing were from Steven and being on the set, watching him direct. You know, that was how I learned.
I mean, you couldn't have set it up even any better, because we're going to look at a clip of Out of Sight right
Oh, I thought you were going to show Batman and Robin.
Darn.
Oh, I really set it up. How come Jennifer Lopez looks the same and I look like, you know, my son?
Come on now. Stop fishing.
She doesn't age, and I'm like,
Here we go. Stop fishing.
I'm not fishing. I'm terrified.
It's such a beautiful scene, that, you know, the intensity of it, the closeness, how it's shot, the rhythm of conversation.
Scott Frank wrote it. He's a really wonderful writer, and it was you know, there'd been all these failures with Elmore Leonard films, 52 Pickup and things like that didn't quite work, and then Get Shorty hit a couple years earlier, and then this script came up, and it was going to be directed by a director who I won't name.
I heard this story.
And then they offered it to Travolta. Travolta turned it down because he felt like it was doing the same thing as Get Shorty. And so then they came to me and offered it to me. And then the director quit because he said I was a TV actor and I couldn't make it in the films. Fair enough, you know. And then we had to go in search of an actress for the part, and Jen hadn't done much yet. She'd done like Anaconda, which was up there with, you know, Batman and Robin, and so we were all on our back foot, I guess. Anyway, it ended up being a really fun project. The rest of the actors, you know, Ving Rhames and Don Cheadle, and just a wonderful cast, and it was, you know, it was a fun film to do. This was that first element that Soderbergh was able to bring independent filmmaking back into the studio system like it used to be from like 1964 to about 1976, with the sort of nonlinear storytelling and all those elements that he used later in Ocean's 11 and Aaron Brockovich and those things. So this was that first turn back into when the studios were run by producers and made more interesting programmers,
Yeah.
normal programmers like 3 Days of the Condor and films like that, the Parallax View and films like that. So
But you found a rhythm with Soderbergh because that's like a 10-year relationship then from that
yeah,
point
we
where you
became
worked on
partners
so
after that
many-
and did a bunch of projects together. Yeah.
so many films together. But then for you, it was also about that kind of journey of, those first 3 steps that you took. That was step 1, then it was Three Kings, and then Oh Brother, and those are
Yeah.
3 very different films as well. And
But good scripts, and it's a funny thing. I've talked about it, but it's true. What you learn when you're an actor first is you just try to get a fucking job, right? You go on auditions and auditions, and then you get a job, and you're like, oh my God, I got a job. And, I literally called all my friends. I'm in the next Batman movie. Really? What are you going to play? Batman! Really, you know what I mean? I've got a fucking job. It's like Ishtar. Wah! And who knows? And after that, you realize that you're going to be held responsible not just for your performance, but for the actual film. If you're lucky enough to get in the position that can greenlight a movie. So after that, I used that as a lesson to go, I really had to focus not just on the part, but on the scripts. And so the next 3 scripts were Out of Sight, and then Three Kings, and then Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And those 3 are great scripts and good directors. So things changed from that moment on in understanding how to tell a story and how your involvement had to be more than just saying yes to getting a part.
you said yes to Oh Brother without reading the script, is that right?
Yeah, that's true. That was the Coen brothers. I mean, honest to God, the Coen brothers. I mean, I've done, I think, 5 films with those guys. They like to make me out to be, just a pure knucklehead in every, The first day I was shooting on Oh Brother, I was nervous, right? These are Coen brothers. And they'd done all these beautiful films, and they were always wacky. And I remember the first day I was doing a scene where I'm getting the shit beaten out of me by John Goodman, and I got a mouthful of corn, and I spitting it out, and he's punching me there with a stick. And I finished the first take. I was nervous. And, these are world-class idiots. And Joel came over to me and goes, yeah, it's great. It's just that, you're not dumb. You're the smartest guy in every room you walk into. Which, of course, is what I should have thought as an actor. I should have understood that. Dumb people don't think they're dumb. They think they're smart. We have a president to prove that. That was too easy. It's like shooting fish and it's like shooting Shamu at SeaWorld. Oh yes, let's all feel bad for Shamu at SeaWorld. No, it was it was a great lesson in just an acting lesson, which is you always learn the things about like actors try to cry, people try not to. Drunk people try to walk sober. Actors try to walk like they're drunk. And this is the same thing with being an idiot, which is that, I had to be, and then from then on I was like, well, apparently you fellas don't know. And, he was the smartest guy in every room, which made him the stupidest man in every room. And it was a great acting lesson in one line of direction,
Is it still like that where with every project you are coming away with something new?
Sure. I mean, it's a funny thing, though. The simplest are always the best. There's always a director, like, okay, when you've done small parts in something, a television show, I'm delivering a pizza, and, the director's like, I think, George, the reason that you're delivering a pizza is because your parents were alcoholics, and you don't have any work, and you need money, and you're trying to and it's like, actually, all you have to do is hit the button and say pizza, right? That's it. And it's just so much easier to have them go, yeah, faster. Sometimes it's just the simplest directions can change things where explaining things sometimes doesn't help,
And also those partnerships on screen as well. I imagine those are areas where you learn as well, and you get the opportunity to kind of exercise different muscles with different scene partners as well. And that's, I imagine, a really exciting part of the job when you have got either a collection of people, or it's like, like we just saw that kind of one-on-one and that dance that happens between those 2 characters.
Yeah, it's just good directors, my God. Well, first, again, you can make a bad film out of a good script, but you cannot make a good film out of a bad script. It just can't happen. So it starts always with a script, always. And then after that, if you have a good director and all of these other elements that come into play, there's so many ways to screw things up. It's so hard to get them all right, right? You can mess it up with the editing when you're done. You can fuck it up with the music. You can, the sound. There's so many ways you go, oh, it doesn't work. And it was so close. So when you have those guys who know how to do all of it and put them all together in the right pieces, it's the greatest lesson in the world in storytelling. So you're watching Alfonso Cuarón. You know, when we were doing Gravity, we thought we were shooting here, and we thought we were going to be here for we thought it was an 8-week shoot, like this little art. I'm not kidding. This is absolutely true. Little art space film. We were going to shoot it for like $30 million. It was going to be, you know. And bit by bit, he's creating this technology while we were shooting. We were building a plane while you're flying it, you know. And bit by bit, you're like, oh shit, this is getting bigger. And it was a year and a half, literally.
No way.
Yeah, a year and a half. And then, I mean, Warner Brothers was like, I think this is a disaster. And nobody wanted to show it. And Warner Brothers, the day before the movie opened, sold off a huge chunk of the movie because they were like, we're going to eat, like, I think it cost $100 million, which sounds like a lot, but for a movie that size, it was really not much. And they were like, well, we'll sell off, get $50 million back from this other group. And then it opened, and it was, you know, made $1 billion, and they all look like idiots. But it was Alfonso working as if it was a small little film, and then getting swallowed up by a lot of technology. But it was still watching him in that room talking about behavior between two people and talking about events. You know, a lot of times what gets lost in storytelling is the event. You know, you and I could be sitting down at on a bench talking about baseball, right? That's our conversation, that's our scene. But what's the real event is that neither of us want to tell the truth, that we both know who the other one is and that one of them is a murderer. You know, there's the scene and then there's the event. And the event's very different, and that oftentimes gets lost. And directors who are good always remind you that's not what's happening here, and pay attention to that. So it's a good thing to have, you know.
When did you know that you were ready to? I mean, writing is something I imagine you were doing all the time.
Because I started on sitcoms, and on sitcoms everybody writes, right?
Yeah.
If you're an actor on a sitcom, you do a table reading, and then you go, what if I said this? And they go, okay, try that. And so you were always writing, but directing was, there was this film called Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. It was a script that couldn't get made. No one would make it. It was owned at Warner Brothers for a period of time. And it was constantly battling back and forth. It was used as bait to bring in good directors, but no one wanted to make it because it was funky, and it was this Charlie Kaufman script. And I was attached as an actor in it for a long time. And no one wanted to make it. And then I went to Soderbergh and I said, what if I direct it and you can guarantee that if I really fuck it up, you'll come in? I mean, that's how you do it. And then he goes, okay. And we got it made very cheaply, and then it was, the studio wanted, you know, big star, and we had to really fight to get Sam Rockwell the lead, and he's so good in it. And I had ideas of how I wanted to do it because I'd grown up doing live television, you know, watching my father. And so I had ideas of what I wanted to do. I didn't know if they'd work or not. And I had, you know, when I finished it and showed it to Soderbergh, he was like, it's great, you cut that scene. And I'm like, fuck you, I'll cut that scene. And then, you know, 6 months later, I cut that scene. Yeah, you learn. Everything you think you're really smart about, you're not. But that was, I didn't direct it because I was chasing being a director. I directed it because I thought I could get it made.
Yeah.
And that was the only reason.
Good night, good luck.
Yeah.
When did that start for you? When did the idea for that, writing that?
So we decided that we were going to start a war in Iraq for not quite many reasons I understand. And I was, I'm the son of a newsman. My father was a newsman. He used to stand on a chair and do Edward R. Murrow's speeches on a chair when I was a kid. And I thought it was a pretty shameful moment in our history when the three branches of government, the judicial, the executive, and the legislative branches all failed in their job the fourth estate, meaning journalism, has the responsibility to question authority, has to. And when it doesn't, and it didn't, and it failed, we end up in a war in Iraq, a war of choice. And it's funny too, by the way. They protested me. There was only about 5 of us that came out at that point. People forget that. And it was, they put me out, the government put me on a deck of cards, called me a deck of traitors, and they picketed my movies and put me on TV shows and all this shit. All those exact same people now, they all talk about how bad that war was. So it's like, yeah, fuck off. So I wrote Good Night and Good Luck because I wanted to talk about when journalism, when the Fourth Estate stood up to a populist, stood up to a bad idea, when it wasn't convenient and when it was difficult to do and when it mattered. And so I wrote it. I got Grant to come on board with me. He's my 40-some years we've been partners. And he loaned me $99 to get headshots in 1982.
How did you guys meet?
Acting class. This guy, Milton Katselis' acting class. And he gave me money for headshots, which I still use, by the way.
Did you pay him back, though?
I did not pay him back. And we started working on the screenplay, and then I wrote it for me to play Murrow. And then we did the table reading, and as a director, as an actor, you want the part. Mm-hmm. As a director, I was clear that part I wasn't old enough, there wasn't enough age to me. There wasn't enough gravitas to play the part. So we got David Strathairn, who killed it. Mm-hmm. And we shot it for $5 million in 22 days. We had to move quick and we had to shoot quick. But it was a worthwhile experiment. And then we didn't know if anybody'd understand it or get it. And then when they did, we were very surprised, quite honestly. We felt very lucky that it worked,
But then you got to play that part.
Yeah, I got another crack at it.
Yeah.
We did it on Broadway.
Which, if you don't know, is available to watch on Amazon as well.
Yeah.
Which was an amazing thing to do.
It was fun to do it. There was a different urgency to do the play this summer, this spring. It felt like we were talking about things now that, the idea of telling the truth and holding truth to power is more important than ever. Truth is more negotiable than ever. Mm. There's a line in this that Murrow said, this isn't my writing, where he goes, "We must not confuse dissent with disloyalty, and we must remember always that accusation is not proof, and that conviction depends upon evidence and due process of law. We will not walk in fear one of another. We will not be driven by fear into an age of unreason. If we dig deep in our history and our doctrine and remember that we are not descended from fearful men, not from men who fear to write, to speak, or to associate with people whose ideas for the moment are unpopular." It was important to say those words again in front of an audience. And the audience appreciated it. It was a really wild thing. It's every night, like 1,600 people. Wow. And at the end, I showed this sort of montage of how insane we are. Just crazy things, accusing people, and Musk giving a Nazi sign, and all of that shit. And at the end, Murrow looks out at the audience and says, "What are you prepared to do?" And it was interesting watching the audience, like, you'd hear like, "Resist," and you'd hear all these things, and sometimes there'd be people who were very angry with me. And that was interesting too. It was an interesting time. It's an interesting thing to remember that each one of us, our voices have to matter. Mm. And being silent cannot be an option. It can't be. So that was an important moment. Doing the film in 2005 and then doing the play this year was important to me, anyway.
We can have a little look, if that's okay. We've got a clip from the film right now.
Uh-oh. It's so weird. We were talking about the Epstein files. I don't know whether...
It's crazy.
Just release them.
It's crazy how that is 20 years later is just kind of so relevant. I wanted just how beautiful that looks as well, and your choices, you know, of how you want to, your how to tell your stories visually.
Well, that one was easy because all of the, you know, because we were going to use the footage of McCarthy speaking as himself, which all you have is black and white footage of it. So we knew we had to shoot it in black and white so that we could see it. The funniest thing is we did this, you know, for those of you who don't know, Joe McCarthy was this populist who started what we call McCarthyism. He's blaming people for being communists basically by just pulling up a blank piece of paper and accusing people. Things we've seen recently. And there was and he was really this maniacal guy. He had like a little pig, three hairs that would flop around. And he'd like, ah, and he'd yell. And so we used all that footage, right? And then the first time we took the movie and tested it, you know, you got to test a movie after you make it. We took it to I don't know where we were, in like San Diego or something. We tested the movie and we got the cards back. And they go, we love the film, everybody's great, except the guy playing McCarthy's over the top. And we're like, all right. So it just shows you, you know, you can overact and still get away with it.
Then how is it going then from, you know, directing to, how do you navigate going in and out of that world, you know, in terms of
when you're acting and directing?
Yeah, and then also then you kind of go and you're just acting, you know. Are you a nightmare on set?
No, I'm not a nightmare on set, although I do hate directing myself. I will say there's an unfair thing you do, right? Okay, you and I are doing a scene together as actors, and and you know, you're the director. And we start doing the scene, and we finish the scene, and you, the director, goes, cut. Okay, listen, Edith, you know, more about this. George, wow, you know, faster. We like that direction. Great. Now, I'm the director, and you and I are doing this, and now we do the scene, and we go, cut. And then I go, okay, now you're breaking the one rule you can never do, which is actors telling another actor how to act. It's a really shit thing to do. And so the idea of you have to literally go to the other actors and go, I apologize in advance for this because I'm watching this with two different eyes here as an actor and as a storyteller, and my job is to do both. And actors are always very generous and understand, but you do feel like a real schmuck, you know. I had Grant over off the camera always to tell me to knock it off when I was overacting or doing something bad, but it's hard because it's not an honorable thing to do, to be in a scene with somebody and then be in judgment of them.
Yeah.
You know.
But then was it hard, or was it kind of, you know, once you've had that experience of writing, directing, and being in a project, to then kind of step back from, you know, a number of those roles to just
act.
It's
nice again. When you trust someone.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I went from this to like Alexander Payne with, you know, The Descendants, and I'm like, oh, well, this is easy. I mean, I can do this all day, and I trust him, and he's a better director than I am, and a better writer than I am. I love being around people like that. I mean, every once in a while you do a movie that you think will be good, and about halfway through you're realizing that this is really going down the drain, and then you kind of look around like, how do I save myself? You know?
Where's my trailer?
Where's my trailer? Yeah. And so there is that every once in a while that happens. You never start out going, this is a shit movie, but I'll do it anyway. You know, you start out with high hopes, and every once in a while, you know, those work out, and every once in a while they really don't, you know.
It is part of the thing that you love about acting, that ability to explore scenes, you know, so you do the script, but then a director gives you the opportunity to kind of play with it, to kind of, you know, step outside of the goalpost with it.
No, I don't like that. Yeah. No, I don't know. You know, look, it's fun. There are actors here, right? There's some actors here. Okay, there you go. There's one actor here. It's a fun business. I'm 64 years old and I don't have to grow up. I get to pretend to be other things. Yeah. I get to play in a sandbox that's, I think, an amazing thing. And when you write something and make it, imagine sitting down and writing, you know, and Rome burns. And then some schmuck goes out and builds Rome and sets it on fire. I mean, and you can't believe it. You're like, oh, I didn't even mean I was just dicking around. It's such a fun, beautiful business that requires, it's not art like I can take a canvas and just paint something. It requires 300 people and somebody else's money and all of these things that I don't take for granted. And when I'm an actor on someone else's set, I don't take it for granted either. I feel very lucky to be here. There's this wonderful writer-producer who I don't know if he's very big here, but his name is Norman Lear, and he was 101 when he died last year. And he'd done all these amazing, All in the Family and all these shows. And was just a brilliant guy. He was writing a show for Netflix at 100. Not bad. And we'd have dinners. He'd always have these really fascinating people around dinner. And he'd have like, a prime minister and Gregory Peck and, a musician. And I'd be sitting there like, why the fuck am I here? And then he would go, can you imagine all of the billions of things that had to happen? All the tiny moments of left and right turns and sperms and eggs and all the things that had to happen for us all to be at this table right now. And I've never taken that for granted. And I've always thought that on a set and being on a set with doing what I loved for a living, all of it is pure luck. And sure, it's work, and sometimes it's 16-hour days and stuff. I used to cut tobacco for a living for $3 an hour. That was work. I get to play, and I love it. And so, I've always felt just nothing but I've only felt gratitude for it.
What do you remember about Michael Clayton?
Very little. I remember reading the script and passing a bunch because I didn't know the director. He'd never directed anything, Tony Gilroy. And then finally, because we were producing it, I wanted to get it made. And so I said, okay, I'll play Michael Clayton. I get it. We'll take a chance with him. And I had Soderbergh as a executive around us, which I thought was a protective thing in case Tony, like for me when I was directing, in case Tony didn't know what he was doing. Tony knew what he was doing. He directed a beautiful film. And I just remember working with some of these ones, Tilda and I, who I just adore that actress. And to work with her was just an honor. And Tom. And I mean, I felt, again, like this was a really exciting part to play, a flawed, interesting character to play.
You talk about Tilda. We've got the clip of you guys.
Oh, I know this. I know this scene.
Great scene.
Oh, everyone dies in the end. Yeah.
You've made some.
She won the Oscar
movies.
for that. The funny thing is there's a scene right after this where I'm in the back of a cab.
So good.
And they were running the credits through the whole thing. It's like 3.5 minutes of just me sitting in the back of a cab. And
was that in the script?
No, we came up with it at the very end. And crazily, we were trying to find a way to end it. It was ending with just me walking away, and it felt like it needed something more. So we came up with the idea of sitting in the back of the cab and just riding and letting it sit there. And everyone, after they saw the film, if you showed that scene, 3 minutes of you sitting in the back of the cab, you showed that at the beginning of the film, it's the most boring shot in the world, right? It's stupid. But at the end, everybody's like, I felt like I could feel the whole story of what you went through. Now, the reality is we'd come up with this, and we were in downtown Manhattan, like on a Friday afternoon. And we were stealing the shot. We don't have cops around keeping it, so we could keep driving. We're stuck in traffic with all these lights around the car, which, you got 5 million tourists. And through the entire shot, and if you watch it, you'll be able to tell if I tell you this. All I'm trying to do, because everybody's outside the thing looking in going, hey, George Clooney, hey, look at it. And all I'm trying to do is not laugh. Through the whole thing, I'm like, nothing to do with the story or the movie, or it's just trying not to laugh. That's it too.
So it's one of the best endings.
I know, it's a great ending. It's amazing, the magic of filmmaking.
It was you've made so many great movies, and just getting the luxury to rewatch them in preparation for this. Oh. The Ides of March is such a great film.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that.
So brilliant to go back and watch that film.
That was an interesting one because I had an interest. There was a play written called Farragut North. Didn't have a lot of the characters in it, but it had the bones of two political fixers. And I wanted to be able to talk about things that I believed in politically.
Yeah.
But I also didn't want it to be a, oh, eat your spinach kind of thing. I wanted it to be flawed characters, but talking about things that actually matter. Using things that of politicians that I'd grown up sort of admiring, qualities. But the only way you could do that is if you made the character I was playing, who was running for president, really suddenly very flawed at the end, and responsible for a young woman killing herself and stuff like that, and getting away with it. And I thought that was the best way to be able to talk about things I was interested in without making it feel like some sort of a lesson in democracy, which I wasn't really interested in doing. So that's why we did it.
Did you write, when you were writing, did you have specific people in mind for some of those roles, though? Because
I knew that I wanted. I knew that I wanted the two fixers, and I knew who I wanted them to be.
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, Phil and Paul Giamatti. I didn't know who the lead was going to be. We had Leo DiCaprio was brought on, was added on as a producer from Warner Brothers. I thought maybe he would do it. He didn't do it. And so then we went to Ryan, and Ryan was gracious enough to say yes. And Jeffrey Wright is a friend, and I've known for a long time, and I asked him to do it. So, it's fun when you're in a scene with Paul Giamatti, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Jeffrey Wright. You feel like you've kind of made it in your career. So it was really fun to do.
And that kind of environment as well, of kind of setting up, the kind of campaign trail tour, and the energy that kind of comes with that, and the reality of what these kind of young kids are kind of putting them through as well, is, I thought, was such an interesting side to that story, as well as the kind of front-facing politicians that we see. Kind of, it was a really nice insight into all that stuff behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, I think it's always a fascinating thing to understand. I spent a lot of time in Washington and a lot of time with politicians over the years, and working with them and working against them at times. And, some of the things you find out is that so often these things that we see out front that we believe, that we fall prey to, we're like, yeah, fuck that guy, or yeah, this guy's the greatest. When the cameras are off, these guys all are having dinner together and like making jokes together, and it's almost for sport at times. And you find it to be disturbing, because what we were being sold is something that should make us outraged, because outrage gives you votes and gives you money. And the reality is they're able to drop it and go off and say, hey, how's the wife? And now, like checking in and checking out, and leaving us the inability to do that very same thing. And I thought those were fascinating things to play with in this story.
We're going to see a clip.
I figured now I'm getting the pattern here.
Oh, yeah. It's such good writing. It's such a, the flawed characters, those kind of, you feel one way about one of them, and then, it's kind of...
Well, it's fun to switch it up,
Yeah.
to have one guy have him and then the other guy have him. And Ryan was terrific in it, too. It was fun to work with. We had really, it's just a terrific cast.
Yeah. Before we go on to Jay Kelly, just quickly, I just want to, some of these...
I think there'll be a clip.
If you're lucky.
You haven't seen the movie. You're going to see a clip.
Yeah, who's
okay.
seen it? Who's seen... I told you.
Oh,
See?
all right. You guys,
Some of them.
don't blow it.
I want to... Tender Bar, I loved that film.
Oh, yeah, it was
I
fun.
thought it was so great.
Yeah.
And I loved watching you and Julia Roberts back on screen together.
Oh, it was fun. Yeah, it was really fun. Listen, she's an up-and-comer. She's going to make it. I'm rooting for her. She's a really dear friend, and I love her.
You've got you're really similar, like in terms of the wit that you have, and you can see kind of how you guys' relationship on camera is kind of, poured out off camera.
Well, it was fun because I got to be rotten to her through the whole time, and I love her. She's just the greatest. We shot that in Australia because it was during the pandemic, and everyone was quarantined together. So she was in the house next to us and our kids would. She'd come pick them up on a golf cart and take them out to get ice cream every day and stuff. So they like her much better than they like me. And it was just fun to be able to give her a hard time. She's, she's the most normal movie star you'll ever meet. Like, she's normal.
And she's a movie star.
She's a movie star. And she's also like, Yeah, there's no, there's no pretenses or game. She's just really easy. Pitt, on the other hand, very abnormal.
I really wanted to try and get through this without having to talk about him.
No, it's too much, really. He's outside with 15 people waiting to come in to talk about his tribute. No, I was very lucky on that Ocean's crowd, that whole cast, Cheadle and Damon and all the guys. I mean, the reason that those 3 films were so fun to do was that they were all sort of generous in their spirit of saying, you take the scene, it's your scene. And there wasn't this, this thing of like trying to hoard all the good lines and things like that.
Can't wait for the 4th one.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
We're all in like wheelchairs. I mean, we're like walking around with walkers. We're old, so it's like, hey.
That's when you get another cheer for walking.
Oh, yeah, you get cheered. I didn't pee on myself today.
Right, Jay Kelly.
Yeah.
This is a phenomenal role and a brilliant film. The cast are brilliant. And I love the journey of your character. For those of you who've seen it, you know what I'm talking about, of Jay Kelly, this movie star. And the arc of this character is he goes from movie star to human being, really. And he becomes this kind of man. And I love that by the end of it, he's almost found the person that he maybe wanted to be. Or
I think maybe it was funny when I thought the character was so flawed when I read it because he missed life. He did all the stuff that is successful. And I think we all have this. This is a balance all of us have, which is how much of this work-life balance are we good at? And none of us are perfect at it, and we're always messing it up. But I like the idea of a character that didn't do any of the other part, didn't show up for anything of his daughters, no graduation. He missed it. He was just working, and is just loved by people, and just hated by his family, and now. As he's gotten older, it's coming to terms with the idea that his family isn't there. And what counts? That same guy I was talking about, Norman Lear, at 101, he said, you never sit around going, God, I wish I worked more in my life. And I thought that was a fascinating part to play, and with a wonderful director and just incredible actors in it. So,
You and Adam Sandler on screen together is just fantastic. I really hope that this is it feels like the start of one of those kind of really iconic duos on screen.
Oh, yes. I'm going to be in, Happy Madison 5.
Gilmore. Should we look at a clip?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. But Dave. He's fantastic in this.
Well, yeah. If you see the movie, Billy does a scene later where he just reads a menu as a method actor. And honest to God, he steals the whole fucking movie, the bastard. He's so good in it. He's so good in it. And Adam there is just Adam's a really wonderful actor. He sort of throws it all off because he's very good at being funny and goofy and all those things. But he's just a wonderful actor and a great guy. And it was a fun film to do. Now, if those of you in the back couldn't hear, he was saying how good I look up close. And I thank you, man. That was so nice. I mean, I don't know. It's a weird thing, like I was talking about directing yourself. You always need somebody around to tell you, you can't direct yourself. You can have some idea. When you write it, you have some idea how you want it to come out, but you never know. Honestly, I don't know if any of you have this experience, but you don't really look like you look in real life when you look at yourself, I mean, I literally, the other day, I was with my wife and somebody had a picture. We were walking on the street, some paparazzi got a picture, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, who the fuck is that? And it's like, oh, that's me. So you don't recognize how you're aging or, I still, fine. And then you're like, oh, shit. So you always need somebody around to help you out, right? You need somebody, you look over and go, and they go, and then you figure it out. So it's more about, none of the things you do in this, directing or acting or writing or producing, none of these things you do in a bubble by yourself. Never. It's, a lot of other people helping you along the way. Well, I'd done a bunch of, after starting in television, doing a bunch of sitcoms, and then I did a bunch of dramas like ER and stuff. And then I'd kind of been mostly doing dramas. And then when I got a call from the Coen brothers and I got to do Oh Brother, Where Art Thou for the first time, one of the first things we did was me singing Man of Constant Sorrow, and the band and doing this really stupid, goofy dance. And they'd brought a choreographer out, and I was like, I think I got my own Kentucky dance. And I did it, and he was horrified. But I could hear the Coen brothers off camera like, so that felt pretty good. I have to say the worst part of that, though, was, when I was hired, the Coen brothers thought I could sing because I was Rosemary Clooney's nephew. Rosemary Clooney, great singer. I thought I could sing because I was Rosemary Clooney's nephew. T-Bone Burnett, the famous music producer, they all thought I could sing, and they brought me down to Nashville to record Man of Constant Sorrow. And I go in this glass booth, and I sing, and I've really worked on it. I'm really ready for this, And I sing like crazy, and I finish it, and I look up, and they're in the other booth, and no one will look me in the eye. They're all like, and I'm like, well, and they're like, George, why don't you come on in and let's play it back and listen to it. Okay. I go in, and they play it back, and it literally sounds like a cat caught in the wheel well of a car. And it was horrible, and it was embarrassing. And then, what are they going to do? I'm the star of the movie, right? So I'm like, I think it sounds great. And then I said, bring your guy. And they brought another guy in, and he looped it. Dan Tominski, and he did all the music for me. And that album, by the way, won album of the year. Beat Joshua Tree out, won album of the year. And I was in Montreal shooting Confession of a Dangerous Mind when it won. And apparently they didn't get the message in Montreal that I hadn't sung the thing. And the front of the Montreal Gazette or whatever, George Clooney wins album of the year. I was like,
yes, I did.
Yeah, baby. That's right. I framed it and sent it to Bono. It's also good. Listen, it's everybody's. We all get it. It is a job. There are some real great rewards with it. When I was a young guy in Kentucky, I would watch this show called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Did that play here ever? Yeah.
Yes.
Robin Leach, Lifestyles, and and it would always be some rich celebrity complaining about I asked for an ivory shift knob for the Porsche, and I got a mahogany one. And you're like, and I'm cutting tobacco for $3 an hour, going, fuck you. And so the one thing I learned about that question in general is I'm never going to ever be someone who complains because things worked out. It's just not going to. Now, if you ask me, are there challenges? Sure. I mean, you can imagine there are some challenges. Every opportunity to have an interview or to have a conversation could result in the end of your career. I'm not on Twitter or Instagram or any of that bullshit because I drink. You know, 3 a.m., my Mother Teresa joke might not play so well when I wake up the next morning.
That's why we gave him water.
That's what she thinks. So there are constant potholes. You're dancing between raindrops to not do something really fucking stupid. But look, I also get to be 64 years old and do what I love to do. I also have, I'm lucky. I started very late. I get it, but I have an incredible wife who makes every day of my life better, and who I couldn't be more proud of. I have 2 kids that I adore. They're 8. They still like me, and I know there's time. Believe me, once they see Batman and Robin, it's over. It's over. They're like, actually, this is a true story. My son, for Thanksgiving, for Halloween, dresses up as Batman this time. No idea that I'm Batman, right? And I said, yeah, I was Batman. And he's like, no. And I'm like, he has no idea how right he is. None. So listen, to answer your question in general, you can decide to be unhappy or you can decide to be happy. There are plenty of reasons that can be claustrophobic, and there are plenty of things that can be unpleasant. I choose not to focus on those because life has worked out in a very good way for me. So I think people would be really pissed off to hear me complain, and that's fair enough. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
I just want to add, because I know you won't mention it, but the fact that you make the choice as well to use who you are and where you are for such great causes around the world for so many people. And I think it's absolutely incredible what you and your wonderful wife do for so many around the world. So
well, that's
thank you on behalf of all those people that you help.
Well, we all do our bit, We all do our bit.
This man's got a really bright purple jumper on, so
there's no way
Yeah.
You can't miss you with that purple jumper.
You wore it especially so you'd get a question, didn't you?
By the way, my wife and I had, because she's, Lebanese, but she's basically a Brit. And there's constant America-Brit conversations. Jumper is not a jumper, that's a sweater, dude. Now, the one I got in trouble with, are there any Americans here? Okay. Now, we have a word.
Oh, not that one.
Oh, yes. We have a word that we think is cute, like a little kid's butt. We would call it a fanny. Well, we didn't know that that's what that means.
It's quite a common use in Scotland. We use it all the time.
Oh, yeah. And my wife is sitting there who hasn't heard it in America often. And I'm like, well, yeah, he's wearing that chick with the fanny pack. And she's like, no idea. So I'm now learning things I can't say. Just so you know. Now, what's your question?
Yes.
Well, I find in general that from doing improv over the years, one of the things you learn in improv is never to say no. You can't say no, because no kills an improv. Right, so if you and I are making up a scene and they tell us, okay, we're 2 sailors and the ship is going down, and I look at you and I go, the ship is going down, and you go, no, it's not. Well, the improv is now over. Right, and scene, done. So no is a really dangerous thing in the creative process. So in improv, it's always yes and. Right? So, yes, the ship is sinking, and you smell terrible. And then you go on with the thing. Well, I smell terrible because of. And that's what I find to be the best thing, because actors in general, there is this thing that actors do that they do to directors, right? An actor is trying to manipulate the director into letting them give the performance they've planned on giving. And the director is trying to manipulate the actor to do the performance they want. And it's a constant And if you're bad at it, you go, no. Because then all creativity goes like this and shuts down. So you got to go, yeah, okay. Because you'll say, all right, I want to do this. Like, don't you think he'd be laughing in this scene? You go, okay. But if he's laughing, he has to do this. And then you give them a horrible alternative. And then they're like, oh, I don't want to do that. Yeah. Well, then maybe you want to try this, and then maybe not laughing, but so that you don't say you're constantly in a battle, because sometimes your instinct is go, dude, no, don't do that. But that doesn't help anybody. You know, you want the process to be inclusive, because I've been an actor. I remember doing a round table with a bunch of directors, and one sort of really well-known director. It was a director's roundtable, and I was there for I think for Good Night and Good Luck, and we were all sitting around talking, and this one director goes, "I like to break an actor. I like to break them, make them do 50 takes until they got nothing, and then they do what I want them." You know, so, and I'm sitting there at the director's table, and I was like, "Fuck you! Never working with you." So, you know, I find the best thing you can do is only your argument is always yes and not no, because I find that to be disruptive and not helpful in general. Sure. Yeah, wouldn't anybody? It would be a blast. He hasn't asked me. Maybe I fucked up the fox. It's hard to, you know, I had to spend, you know, almost a year with foxes, just me and foxes. It was a lot, as you imagine. Didn't shave, you know. The hardest part was scratching behind my ear with my foot, but I got there eventually. The wife didn't appreciate the, you know, crapping on the floor, but other than that, you know, I have to say though, that was a really interesting way of doing an animated, because usually what you do when you do an animated film is you go in, they got a script, and you read in a booth, like I sang in the booth. You read in the booth, and then they go in and they animate it. And this one was one where Wes just took us out on a farm, and we just played on this farm, and he recorded it. So, like, if we were in a tunnel that's supposed to have an echo in it, we went into the back of in this tin barn, and I would go, you know, it's supposed to have an echo, and I would just go, hello, 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 hello. And they left it in. And if a plane flew overhead, they just animated a plane into the shot.
That's
So it was such a unique way of doing an animated film. It was really a fun, and you know, I mean, it's again, a big flop, but it was it's a film we're all really proud of and happy to be in, you know. And by the way, I have the actual Mr. Fox at my house, the real one, you know, the one, yeah.
Wow, there's a big hit in the audience.
Yeah, that was it. I finally made it.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't have, you know, Michael Clayton's not there, but I got a fox.
Jay Kelly, it's going to be on Netflix 5th of December, but
Yep.
what can we look forward to next? Are we writing, directing, acting?
I'm not writing or directing for a while. It takes a long time, you know, and I do have these 2 8-year-old knuckleheads that I drive to school every day that I kind of want to make sure I'm around for to see them. I'm going to do a film with Annette Bening soon, who I love, and it's a really beautiful film, and she's just going to be spectacular in it. And then we're doing an Ocean's 14, actually. We are. Yeah. I'm not kidding. It is like, you know, all the things we used to be able to do that we can't do anymore.
Is David Holmes doing the music?
I don't know if David's doing it. I'm not sure about that. But, you know, it's going to be like the Golden Girls do, you know, rob a bank. And
I'm in.
it really will be that bad. So we're looking forward to that. And I'm not sure when we start that yet. It's about getting the schedule going. And we also have to take all of the budget and give it to Brad now that he's had a hit. He's hard to live with, you guys. Honestly, you know, Julia, she's nice. You know, Damon, he's very, you know Matt Damon, he's a sweet guy. Brad Pitt's hard to live with. He's pretty boy Pitt, we call him. He makes us call him that. Anyway, so that's, I think, the next one.
Special guest for the night. No, I'm joking.
Brad Pitt. And he comes out.
In his Formula One kit.
In a Formula One outfit. By the way, I hear he stuffs the front of it, you know what I'm saying? That's just what I heard. I heard he,
I wanna be
put
on
a
the
carburetor down there, you know what I'm saying?
I want to be on the set of Ocean's 14, don't you? Thank you for being here tonight.
By the way, how extraordinary is she?
Oh, don't be silly.
Edith is the best. Always the best.
Thank you.
It's true.
Congratulations on J. Kelly. It really is a really wonderful, wonderful film, and I very much look forward to what's next. Wonderful George Clooney.
And thank you guys for coming out. Thank you.